up, Taiwan? I'm Louise with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. The Coast Guard is stepping up monitoring of Chinese ships operating around the Taiwan Strait. That's after 3 of China's Coast Guard vessels crossed the unofficial line between the two countries. Rick Lowett is following the story for us from the north coast of Taiwan. Rick, what do we know about this incident?
Well, quite a lot, actually. Both sides have been pretty transparent about what went on that across the median line, the unofficial line that separates the Chinese side and the Taiwan side of the Taiwan Strait. China's state media has released a video of two Coast Guard vessels and 1 emergency vessel that went on a 30-hour mission and went 3 nautical miles over that sensitive median line. Taiwan's Coast Guard, meanwhile, has confirmed that this mission took place and that it monitored and said that they are determined to protect Taiwan's sovereignty. Of course, confrontations at sea between Taiwan and China are on the rise. This is as China continues to throw its weight about in the region to assert its claims over Taiwan. And you might remember earlier this year there was that deadly incident in Jinmen, an outlying island of Taiwan close to the Chinese coast, where a Coast Guard chased by the Taiwanese landed with 2 Chinese nationals dying. Since then, China has said that it will be enforcing its own maritime law in waters administered by Taiwan. Taiwan, in response, has said that it will boost its patrols and that it is ready to protect its sovereignty.
So, Rick, should we be expecting more confrontations at sea like this?
Well, we may well see more of this, of course, because China's fishing season has just reopened. As we speak, tens of thousands of fishing vessels are leaving Chinese ports. They're heading out into the South China Sea, but they're also heading into the waters near Taiwan. Taiwan's Coast Guard has already said that it's going to be upping its patrols to check that these boats do not encroach on Taiwan's waters, and this is all seen as part of China's grey zone warfare tactics. That's actions that China takes to intimidate Taiwan, to push its claims of sovereignty over Taiwan without actually resorting to military conflict. And of course, this sort of thing, these Chinese boats in Taiwan's waters, puts Taiwan in a very difficult position. It's got a very delicate balancing act now to make sure that it does assert its sovereignty, stand its ground, but without causing an incident that China could use to escalate and even cause a conflict.
Thanks, Rick. That was Rick Lowett in Danshui on Taiwan's north coast with the latest on efforts by the Coast Guard to keep Chinese fishing vessels out of Taiwanese waters. China and the Philippines are accusing each other of ramming vessels in the South China Sea. China's Coast Guard released footage of the incident, saying a Philippine vessel deliberately collided with their boat. But Manila says it was Beijing carrying out aggressive maneuvers, damaging 2 of its vessels while they were on a resupply mission. It's their latest clash in the disputed waters, despite the 2 countries in July agreeing to ease tensions at sea. US Secretary of State Antony Blinken is in Tel Aviv to help push for a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. Israel's government says it's cautiously optimistic, but the Palestinian group Hamas is accusing Israel of trying to blow up a potential deal. Hamas wants an end to the war in Gaza, while Israel wants a temporary pause in fighting. The war erupted in October after Hamas attacked Israel, killing around 1,200 people. Hundreds of others were taken hostage. Health authorities in Gaza say more than 40,000 people have been killed by Israel's assault on the Strip. India's medical system has ground to a halt as hundreds of thousands of doctors walk off the job protesting the rape and murder of a trainee medic. They want justice for the victim and a guarantee of safety for doctors and paramedics. Rosie Greninger reports.
Protests are growing across India as thousands demand swift justice for a junior doctor who was raped and murdered nearly 2 weeks ago. They're calling for stronger security and more stringent laws to protect medical staff. Medics have been on strike since the incident, saying the doctor's death highlights the vulnerability in hospitals across the country, where staff work with a lack of protection.
But किसको पता है कि आज हॉस्पिटल भी सेफ नहीं है, हॉस्पिटल में भी आपके साथ कुछ भी हो सकता है रात बिरात को, तो उस चीज के लिए हमें एक सिक्योरिटी चाहिए, तो उसके लिए हम यहाँ पे एकत्रित हुए.
Around 1 million doctors have now walked off the job, paralysing the medical system in a country with a population of 1.4 billion. The government has urged doctors to return to their duties in the public interest, but they say they will continue to protest until there is justice for the victim. The body of the 31-year-old trainee medic was discovered covered in blood and mutilated at a government-run hospital in Kolkata, an autopsy revealing she'd been raped before her murder. Indian authorities arrested and charged a volunteer police officer with the crime, but the family of the victim say they believe other people are involved. The case has now been transferred to federal investigators after state government officials were accused of destroying evidence and mishandling the investigation.
फिर मेरे जो दीदी है उन्होंने फ़ोन किया तो बोलते हैं क्या हुआ है मेरी बेटी का, बोलिए, तो बोले हैं कि हम क्या डॉक्टर हैं, हम बोलेंगे हम ले जा रहे हैं डॉक्टर के पास, वही बोलेंगे. फिर फ़ोन काट कर दिया. फिर उसके बाद फिर मेरे दीदी ने फ़ोन किया, तब उन लोगों ने बोल रहा कि आप आ रहे हैं ना आप लोग, तो बोलते हैं हाँ आ रहे हैं, आपके बेटी ने सुसाइड किया है.
But bringing justice to this family isn't expected to ease public anger, with the protest movement highlighting how women in India continue to suffer from violence. That's despite tougher laws being introduced in 2012, following the gang rape and murder of a 23-year-old girl on a moving bus in Delhi. In 2012, 25,000 rape cases were recorded, but since then the annual number of cases has increased to over 30,000, while conviction rates are lower than 30%. Campaigners say not enough has been done to deter violence against women, and more systematic change is needed to stamp out the problem.
Increasing the sentence, making it much more severe would not make much of the difference. Unless either we are doing the societal improvement in terms of we are actually making the changes, mindset is changing. We are providing that kind of security which should be there.
And that lack of judicial and societal change is prompting this national reckoning, with protesters vowing to stay on the streets until there is meaningful change, saying enough is enough. Dolphine Chen and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Vietnamese leader To Lam is on a 3-day visit to China, where he'll meet with President Xi Jinping and Premier Li Qiang. Lam arrived in Guangzhou City in southern China on Sunday. It's his first foreign trip since becoming General Secretary of the Communist Party early this month. He says Vietnam prioritizes the development of relations with China. While the countries share close ties, they have also had disputes over claims to the South China Sea. Taiwan is mulling whether to increase the country's minimum wage. The Labour Ministry will consult labour unions, business leaders and politicians on a possible pay hike early next month. Officials have not ruled out raising the minimum wage for a 9th straight year. Labour unions are pushing for a 4% rise based on the Consumer Price Index and the country's economic growth. A hike would benefit some 2 million workers. Sunday marked the middle of Ghost Month in Taiwan, a time when people typically gather to give offerings to the dead. Leslie Liao travelled to a Taipei temple to find out more about the occasion.
It's Ghost Month in Taiwan. It's a time when the gates of the underworld are believed to open, allowing ghostly spirits to wander the mortal realm. Ghost Month is observed throughout the 7th month of the lunar calendar. And on the 15th day of the month, which falls on Sunday this year, marks Ghost Festival, or Zongyuan Pudu. But Ghost Festival doesn't necessarily have to be celebrated on the 15th. One temple official says it's more of a rule of thumb, and people observe the occasion at different times throughout the month.
所以我们在台湾的习俗，现在从7月1号开始到7月30号， 几乎每天都可以普渡，在7月份都可以。
During Ghost Month, people honor the spirits of those who have no descendants or don't have anyone to pay tribute to them. Without worship or offerings, these spirits grow hungry and restless, potentially wreaking havoc on mortals. During Zongyuan Pudu, a massive feast is held for the lost souls. Food and drink are laid out for the ghosts on massive offering tables, while people also burn joss paper to appease the spirits to keep them at bay and ward off bad luck.
这个过程中就是给阴间的这些好兄弟出来讨生活，让他有东西可以吃。
Ghost Festival marks the halfway point of Ghost Month. Temples, companies, and households will carry out these rituals to ensure they get through the second half smoothly.
因为现在工商一直进步，所以大家觉得说，他这样很麻烦，就请我们庙里帮他代办。所以我们现在就有很多的，有人准备生礼，也有人准备干粮，那有人捐助白米。那这个是由庙方来帮他代办的。那我们也将近快1000人了。
And each place might do it a little differently than others.
然后我们一个比较大的不一样，就是说我们现在把那个台地公、猪公的部分，我们改成用香肠来取代。
The festivities show just how seriously people in Taiwan take the occasion, making sure ghosts are fed and not causing any trouble. Scott Huang and Leslie Liao in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Rising living costs have been putting the squeeze on people in Taiwan, and now the Midsummer Ghost Festival is the latest victim of inflation. Some event organisers have had to cut back on the offerings left out for wandering spirits. John Van Trieste has this story.
Tables and tables of lavish offerings, a feast for spirits from the underworld. Tradition holds that the spirits come back late each summer. To keep on their good side, people put on ceremonial banquets for them. But this year, the rising cost of living means some are having to cut corners. The rural central Taiwan town of Huwei was once known for its so-called mountain of meat, but this time around, the pigs are rentals. This vendor, who didn't want to be filmed, says a whole pig now goes for over $370, but he says he's lent them for the ceremony for just $130 apiece. The organizing committee says it's just not economical to provide such rich fare as in past years. They've even turned to other meats to keep under budget. Agriculture officials say pork is a more time and resource-intensive meat, and that strong seasonal demand is also affecting supply.
猪肉一养就要养半年嘛，那鸡肉只要养1-2个月就可以，它们周转率很高。最近猪源比较少，是因为我们猪舍都在改建，因为现在中元节是我们畜禽产品的1年1度的最大的需求节日之一。
But it isn't just pork. Forecasters at think tank CIER expect the consumer price index to rise 2.16% this year. Slightly lower than last year, but high enough to see people thinking about cutting costs however they can. Even the afterlife may not be able to escape the pinch. Leon Lien and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Hengchun, on the southern tip of Taiwan, has celebrated the Ghost Festival with a traditional climbing race that dates back over a century. Teams clamber up an obstacle course greased with cow fat, trying to be the first to capture flags at the top. The winning team gets a prize that this year came to more than $32,000. Last year's race was cancelled due to a typhoon. This year's event went smoothly despite heavy rain. An infestation of coral-eating starfish is threatening the reefs on Taiwan's outlying Pratas Island. Tens of thousands of crown-of-thorns starfish have destroyed 90% of coral in some areas. The government has recruited volunteers to remove them. Scientists say warming ocean temperatures may have caused the starfish to spread.
可能是因为这种大量的水质不好就进来，现在加上一个什么热，它天气热的话，它吃得更快，产得更多。
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, let's play out with some images of the Ghost Festival in Geelong City in northern Taiwan. I'm Louise Watt. Take care. We'll see you next time.